So today we're talking about slowing down, being more efficient, and more effective by breaking down change into small pieces.
Yeah.
Ah! Oh! Oh!
We've both learned that when we're trying to help someone who's asking for help make a change, to not, we came up with a really good way of describing it, which is if you're going to like trim a tree and you're going to help it be healthier,
Mm,
if the tree itself isn't healthy, then like pruning everything that's not working all at once is just going to kill it.
hmm
And when we think about people, keeping it simple, it's like that. It's like, okay, you've got a lifetime of a situation. It could be a trauma, it could be a pain, whatever, phobia, pick your poison. But it's not up to us to go, I found the very root of it right at their first meeting and just go, and go, here's your problem. And then let them go. Like that just doesn't work. People aren't meant to be treated that way.
If you compare a human being to a tree, I mean, humans have seasons just like trees do. And what's the best season to prune a tree?
Don't ask me or I'll kill it. I'm not sure about tree pruning.
But just thinking about winter, spring, summer, fall. When is the best time
Probably spring
when it's got life force, when it's
yeah,
got energy, when it's growing, when it's starting to grow? So yeah, spring is the right time to prune, and
I got it.
you got it right. If you prune in winter, it just challenges the tree a little more to come back with that vitality in the spring. So people are the same way. We do go through seasons. We go through seasons with the earth seasons.
Yep.
We go through winter is supposed to be a time of rest. And living in Arizona with our seasons all wonky,
We don't have what, yeah.
we really work backwards a lot. Winter is a time of productivity because the weather is nice. And the summer, it's like the summer, which is supposed to be that super vibrant time of growth and aliveness, is like our winter. Like we're kind of screwed up here, honestly.
Well, our weather's so weird. Like we usually get like a spring and a summer. We never get a fall. And whenever we have winter,
Winter's like
it's
fall
yeah, winter is like
for
a month.
6 months.
Yeah, like 2 weeks of 70-degree weather and 50 degrees at night, and then boom, it's like spring again.
Yeah, our weather here is weird, and I think that's part of living in the desert is it makes you more resilient in life because you're not in rhythm with nature. It's a lot harder to be in rhythm with nature and seasons the same way you would in a place that has distinct seasons. So as people, like we go through that, with the weather, but also within ourselves because these seasons in our lives and each year we go through all this stuff. So
That's very
it's
true.
not always a good time to go through transformation. You really have to be in a space to start making changes and know that you have the vitality and the growth and the energy within yourself to do it.
Well, I know it's true because just you saying that made me remember. Guess what month most people start feeling the most and want to do something about their life? It's usually like October, November, right when the holidays are showing up. Like the highest depressed rates in the country are like around the end of the year holiday, and that's when everyone
Going
is in
into
the winter
winter?
season.
Yeah, going into winter.
Yeah, and that's like anytime there's a sudden influx of people in the men's work I do, it's usually either around October or spring, like right now.
They start losing their leaves in the fall, but they're supposed to because they're supposed to be resting, right? So they want to make a change, but a lot of times the fall winter energy is also that letting go and figuring out where you want to go when you do come back into the spring. So it's like I think it's like a psychological thing if you're talking about that coming up, like it's when you start thinking about it and preparing for it and going into hibernation and planning and resting and it's a season for that.
I think I've noticed is, well, the men's group I'm a part of, I have the privilege of participating in. Circle is so used to being together every week
Mhm.
that, like, we're just doing this regardless of the seasons. So
Right.
I'm gonna start paying more attention to the quality and the nature of the work as the seasons go by.
Mhm.
I'm gonna start thinking about, like, during the summer, what's the work in the circle like?
Mhm.
During the fall and the winter, what's it
Yeah,
gonna be
I'm
like?
I'm very interested in what that looks like, and it is interesting, as women are much more in tune with the cycles and the moon cycles and the season cycles. I'm very curious how men relate to that and how they feel that, and whether or not it's conscious, how that shows up. It's really fascinating.
Well, I know in February, the little space that we meet has been packed to capacity more times than we can remember.
Hmm.
So I'm like, "Oh, it's going into spring," and I wonder if it will just taper off for the rest of the year and then pick up around
It'd
depression
be
season.
it'd be interesting to keep a journal, just with the weekly quantity and just like the tone of, not details, but the tone of the conversation, the topics, the general feelings that are coming up, and see what patterns arise. I think you'll see some cool patterns.
One of the other things that I'm thinking of is how this affects people that aren't really they're not actively involved in personal development. They're living their lives. They're doing the thing that they think that they're here to do.
Mhm.
And it made me start thinking about how did I feel throughout the year when I was in corporate America or in different places,
Mm.
when I was working for someone. And yeah, I think the seasons play a big part of the emotions, so much so that it's easy to say they don't.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, and it's like, even in this environment we're in, we go into an office building and the environment's very controlled. So the temperature, the lighting, and everything is pretty consistent throughout the year, and it disconnects you from your natural rhythms, but it also kind of allows you to work in that automatic pattern that isn't what, humans aren't designed to, but it kind of allows us to detach from what our bodies really need and what our
Yeah.
souls really need to go into these corporate containers.
Well, I was thinking about that time you and I were in prison town on the way to Tucson.
Prison town?
Yeah, what's
Oh, Florence?
Florence, yeah.
Yeah, Florence, Arizona, there's a prison.
Yeah, it's like the whole town's built around a prison.
Yeah. It's
And I was mentioning, like, for me, I don't feel super sensitive to energy and I don't really feel it.
Mhm.
And we're driving through prison town and you go, "Well, how does this place feel?"
Like, how do you feel right
And I'm
now?
like, "Oh, this place is oppressive and dark." It's just like, eh, like, well, that's the energy you're
That's all
feeling.
it is.
I'm like, "Oh, I'm feeling it so often that I just don't even think I am."
Yeah, that was,
That thinking about the
a
seasons the same way, like,
yeah, that was a cool illustration for you, because you're like, "I really don't feel energy," and we're driving through this, and I feel it very much. So
uh,
we're driving through this, and I feel that shift. The closer we get to the town, it's like the volume goes up to 10.
yeah.
It's like, this feels like a prison.
It's like,
And
where did all these bars come from? Oh, we're near prison town. Yeah.
but when you said I don't feel energy, like, just that immediate connection that you had because of the subtlety of it. And it's so subtle, but it's also so obvious that you just don't even connect that it's happening.
Yeah. Like, I'm thinking back how many times when I worked at a company or a business and it was November
Mhm.
and somebody would talk about how everyone gets depressed and around Christmas time. And everyone's like, "Nah, I think that's just a stereotype."
Yeah.
"Well, how you doing?" "Oh, everyone in the family's stressed out, like everyone's freaking out." I'm like, "Oh yeah, so that's the answer."
It's so obvious we ignore it.
Yeah.
I think that's the beauty of journaling, is that it's a record that helps you see patterns, and, you could
Yeah.
acknowledge, like, wow, the same time last year. I think it's funny because social media doing memories, like, oh, 10 years ago today, and it's like, wow, I'm doing very similar things as I was 10 years ago or 5 years ago. And it's like showing you pictures, like, remember you did this exact same thing last year and the year before. And these patterns are there, and pattern recognition is a huge part of growth. And
Yeah,
when we
and
start
even
seeing,
noticing it, like,
seeing
that's
it.
been a big part of it, like, you know, middle-aged coach guys typically have facial hair, and I'm like, "No, I don't think that's true." Like, "Well, you have a beard." "No, no, I don't have a beard, I have stubble." It's like, "No, you're a coach middle-aged guy and you have facial hair." "Uh-uh." It's like,
Do you
Yeah,
want a picture of that? Do you want to
it's
see?
like,
You want a mirror? Like,
you feel sad every November. "No, I'm just stressed about everything my family's giving me, so you're sad." No, it's
no,
like,
the denial of it's beautiful.
and it's not even conscious. It's not like somebody's just deliberately lying or just trying to be stubborn. It's just,
Well, I think
"This is
that's
interesting."
part of it is our self-awareness of how we even feel is so numb because of the environments we live in that take away the feeling. Like
Mhm.
the feeling in most corporate buildings. And I like feng shui because it's elements, it's energy, it's lighting, it's color, it's like feeling. And it's how we're feeling beings, we're
Yeah,
emotional beings, and we like to be comfortable. So when you're in a space that's like the lighting and the temperature and like everything is just numb and boring and cold, um, it reflects in the people that work there and the feelings of it.
yeah. "Well, this doesn't affect me." I'm like, "Well, look at your desk. You've got, like, everything's full of color." "No, that's just because I like, my life to have color." Like, yeah. So this goes to that point about, like, when we meet people and they have a lot of work that they need to do
Mhm.
personally, you know, I always have that desire to find the deepest thing I can to
Mhm.
help them get the result they want as fast as possible. But, it you know,
You
there
can't
there are,
dig
yeah,
you can't dig up the whole tree. Well, 'cause so here, I really like the you can't plant a seed and then dig it up every day to see if it's growing.
yeah,
You can't look at your roots until you've addressed the symptoms. Like, the symptoms are the indications, "Hello, I need some help here." The problem is in the root and the whole holistic plant, but the leaves are gonna tell you first. The roots can have some stuff going on, but until you see, like, there's actually symptoms trying to say, "Hey, I need some attention here."
yeah.
What do you
Just gotta
need?
start with the highest level symptoms
Yeah.
and work your way down.
So what do you need? And honestly, I think we overcomplicate this stuff so much. And if we simplify it and really ask, "What do I need?" Well, how do you feel right now? Are you tired? Are you awake? Are you thirsty? Are you hungry? Are you, what
Usually a little bit of all that, yeah.
yeah, what do you feel? And right now, what's one thing you could change? Do you need some water right now? Do you need to go take a nap? Like, do you need to just go take a walk? Do you need exercise? And I think we ignore our needs to such a high degree. And I think all of us do it. And I would say as a woman, as a mom, as an independent, strong woman, I put my needs aside and I have for a long time, and take care of everybody else around me. So when I've learned that, oh wait, I have needs too, and those are important because put your own oxygen mask on first is real. So if I'm not listening to what I need and over giving to everybody around me, and my plant's starting to get brown edges on its leaves, and then
Well,
the plant's not good, doing good.
it's one of the things that is fairly common when somebody approaches to get help with something in their life.
Mm,
Most of the time, they're really, really out of touch with what it is exactly, and
mhm,
that's part of why they're asking for help. Like, "I don't even know what it is.
mhm.
I just have all these symptoms."
Yeah.
And sometimes they don't even know their symptoms. They think it's life or whatever. There's a label for everything that we're meaning creating
Yeah.
machines. And so somebody shows up and they've got a bunch of feelings. You zero in, you try to get them as close to, bombing the target as you can. And then most of the time, it's just about lowering the intensity of what they're feeling
Mhm,
so that they can have some assurance that they can do this again
mhm,
and they can get on with their life. Like, we'll talk again next week, but now that the volume's been lowered, you can
mhm.
start listening to the rest of your life just a little better.
Yeah.
And that helps a ton because you're right. Most people have no idea what they need,
No,
truly need.
yeah, I think that's just being tuned into your own feelings, sensations, your senses, and our senses are designed to tell us. Our senses are here to give us these messages to respond to. I'm curious. I was just thinking about there's a practice that I like, and I wonder how this would apply with men and men's work. And um, I've worked with people that they when they first say, "I need help," they're in that heightened state, they're in an emotional state. So, what I usually do is understand what the emotions are.
Yeah.
Like, "Well, what are you feeling?" "What's the emotion?" And I think this is
Yeah,
you've
we do that
from what
with
you've told me, it's like kind of you kinda do this. Um, so from what I've done in the past is, well, what are you feeling and where are you feeling it? And
yeah.
I think this is very similar to what men's work does. Um,
Well, good work. Good men's work anyway.
right.
Yeah.
but but where are you feeling it, and kind of trying to identify with that feeling. Um, but what's really been present for me is when you do identify, usually the emotions are up here. They kind of tend to
Mhm.
be heart, chest, somewhere in here. And the person is often not breathing. They're not breathing deeply enough. So there's a disconnect, there's a cutoff. But when they can understand that and drop into their body and start pulling their energy down and breathing down, once they understand what the feeling is, they still can't do anything about it until they can get present in their body and grounded
Yeah.
to be able to respond to it. Does that make
That's
sense?
well, yeah, that's a big part of at least the group I'm in, that's what we do,
Mm,
is a lot of times just that helps somebody make a huge shift.
mhm.
Because there's lots of theories around it, but I ascribe to the theory that uh, all of our emotions are energy and they're stuck in our body until they're not.
Yeah.
And so sometimes people get really emotional about something and we help them pick out what those emotions are. And then where do you feel it? Do you feel it? And then just breathe into it and just let it go. Oh, thank you for paying attention.
Mhm.
Like if you get a screaming kid and you keep ignoring it, either it's going to traumatize so and split and dissociate so much that it never cries again, or it's going to keep getting louder until you finally address it.
Mhm.
And for most people's emotions, it just screams and quiet for a while until finally
Yeah.
one day. And so, yeah, where on your body are you feeling it? And it's funny to watch people that have never done this, like right here, and they're
Is
like,
it most often
it's usually like in the stomach or the heart.
okay.
Um, it's almost always in the
It's
sternum.
here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
all
it's
in the
somewhere
major
here.
organs.
Okay.
Like, very rarely, unless it's something very,
It's not like
unique, is it in the
my
limbs.
left toe. My left toe's fine. It's usually in your core. It's
Yeah,
usually
right
here.
in the organs
Yeah.
where all the nerve endings and neurons and
Yeah.
stuff are.
So when you're talking physically, I see things a lot energetically, the energy centers and chakras and all that. I see those as real and I use them as reference.
Yeah,
So the heart and the emotion and this feeling versus the core, your center, your root. This is a grounded place to respond from your dantian, your down here, versus your emotional heart center and your voice and your thoughts and all this. So it's all the core, but this communication between the core of your being
yeah.
is pretty loud.
Well, that's one of the biggest things is getting somebody to recognize their whole body is involved in their whole life.
Yeah, yeah,
The whole somatic experience of being a human being is where your emotions are.
yeah.
You may not have an emotional big toe, but smack it with a hammer and tell me how you
But
feel.
you certainly do. Yeah.
Yeah,
Till you get a paper cut on your
eyeball.
pinky finger,
Yeah,
you don't know how much you use that pinky finger for things.
yeah,
Mhm. Yeah, I think it's interesting to realize that your entire body gives you messages. It's something that I've really embraced and embodied for a long time. If you've got a consistent pain somewhere, it's all messages, whether it's emotions, your emotions translate to your organs, they translate to everything. And when you start tuning in and realizing, like, why do I have this consistent pain in my whatever? Well, why do you? What is that about? And asking those questions is the way to figure it out
I
and
love
get
doing
there.
this work with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ah! Oh! Oh!